Hey everybody, David here with ProTrain, joined by the CEO of ProTrain, John Todaro. We're going to discuss hacks for athlete schedules, how to have your athlete be more efficient, accomplish more in and outside of the gym. How are you tonight, John?
Oh, fantastic. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to give you guys a lot of hacks and secrets on how to maximize your time.
Awesome. Well, let's get started with this first subtopic. How important is it with time management that athletes block out their time and they're intentional as opposed to just going with the flow? That's the first one we'll tackle.
Well, I mean, I think, Bruce Lee said it best. Life is the only thing you have in life is time, right? And
That's a fact.
you shouldn't waste it. So like that's the only thing that we have that's the most valuable. And if you break down athletes, right? They really have a very short window. And I think the biggest problem with athletes is they think they have a lot longer than they do. And then when it comes down to it, they're a senior in high school, no offers and no opportunities because the time wasn't maximized.
That's a great point. And when it goes by so fast, I've heard the expression time is like jumping off of a building. The more time you experience, the faster it goes. So I believe
Mhm.
that for sure. So, with that being said, how do you recommend student athletes that are in college, or sorry, that are in high school,
Um,
middle school?
not say you gotta run that back for me real quick. I didn't get you on that.
Yeah, sure. So, how do you recommend athletes who are in middle school start blocking their time? How should they view their time to structure to do well in academics and also do well in athletics?
I mean, you gotta break down the day, right? So, you gotta look at a few different things. So when your body is the most anabolic, it's at night, and during the day you're catabolic, right? So what does that mean? So when you're breaking down muscle growth and protein synthesis, you have to be sleeping, right? You have to be sleeping. So the number one thing that you can manage that is free is your sleep, right? And these are things that most athletes just don't want to do. They don't want, like, now we're talking about, like, if I was an average athlete, right, with average genetics, the one thing that I can hack and get to the top rankings and compete with the top level athletes is just focusing on managing sleep, right? So if I were to tell you that you go into bed, you know, head to pillow, and you're laid out and passed out by 9:30, and you're up and awake by 6 o'clock in the morning, right? You could enhance your chances of making it to the collegiate level by like 70%, right? That's the first thing.
Wow,
Like
that's
70%,
huge.
like I'm just talking about consistently, 9:30, wake up at 6, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like, damn, like I'll do that tomorrow, right? But see what the problem is these athletes, they want to spend all this time doing shit that's not going to get them to the next level. They want to be on Fortnite. They want to be, texting and sexting and doing all this crazy stuff when in reality they need to get their asses to bed. Right now, try telling a 14-year-old that it's easier said than
Yeah.
done. But
True.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about, like, if I had an average athlete, if I had an average athlete and you told me one thing to, like, enhance their chances of making it by 70%, fuck with their sleep. The sleep
Okay.
alone. Like, and that's the thing. It's like these kids, they don't want to go to bed, right? And then they start developing bad sleep habits, right? So it's a lot harder for them to have recoveries, right? So that's how they get injured. And then they get
Yeah.
injured, and then they slowly but surely break away from the sport because they're spending time away from the sport, from recovering from
Mm.
that injury, or they're
Mm.
just not playing at a higher level because their bodies aren't recovering, and they're not progressing, and they're not breaking down the nutrition
Okay.
of what they've consumed. But that's a whole nother topic. That's the next thing, right?
Okay, yeah. Well, let's in a minute discuss the power of morning routines. But before we get there, we soon are releasing an enhanced program to help athletes with their nutrition, to help them with their schedules. Discuss what we can do for Miami student athletes in this
So,
respect.
so we're launching in September an elite program for all athletes in Miami from 13 to high school and on. And one of the things we're going to be monitoring is nutrition and sleep, and that's going to give us the ability to really either increase muscle growth, reduce body fat, or maintain and build, right? And we're going to be doing simple effective techniques to make sure that you're maximizing your time with the training and your recovery. And we're going to be monitoring you. We're going to be either putting you in a caloric deficit or in a caloric surplus. We're going to be monitoring your macros, your protein, carbs, and fats. And we are going to produce the best plan for you as far as what you should be eating, especially on the go when you have practices and when you're like in busy situations, but still getting the most out of your nutrition. So like, a bag of Skittles
Okay.
ain't doing shit, like these kids, they're going to be eating a bag of Skittles and stuff. And, like they're not getting anything out of that. Right. That's getting you nowhere. Right. But that, but we're going to be on top of you. We're going to help you, make it fun, right? You don't got to eat boiled chicken and green beans. You can still eat Pop-Tarts and, Sour Patch Kids and stuff, but still the name of the game is fuel is, your food, your performance, the fuel, you're fueling your body to maximize your growth, maximize your recovery, and maximize your gains and getting ultimately paid, right? So you got to look at nutrition and sleep as an ATM, right? So you got to
Yeah.
deposit that when you deposit that money, right? It's going to go into your checkings and your savings, right? And eventually, you're gonna cash out on that. But if you are writing checks that your ass can't cash because you're never depositing funds, you ain't making it. And that's what we're going to teach.
I love that. I love that analogy of it being a asset and you're either adding to it or you're taking away from it. If you're in Miami and you have a student athlete, we have a banner at the bottom. Schedule your athlete's free evaluation by calling or even texting us at 786-786-8461 if your athlete has ambitions of D1 college sports. So now we'll go on to the power of morning routines. And I've heard various things on this. I've heard people say it doesn't matter that much. Some people just say be consistent. It doesn't have to be super rigorous. What are your thoughts on that specifically for up and coming athletes?
As far as what?
Morning routine, like should someone be up at the exact same minute and hit the gym at the exact same time, and or is that just kind of a narrative that's been overplayed?
I mean, like we're talking about doing something that only a few thousand people get to do every year, and that's play collegiate sports, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is like everybody wants to do the bare minimum, right? Everybody wants to do the bare minimum, right? But it doesn't. That's not what it takes. We're talking about average athletes getting above average opportunities, right? And I'm talking to those. I can get any average athlete into collegiate sports, right? But that's going to come with the most crucial sacrifices of consistency, right? And it's the same time waking up every day, same time going to sleep every day. It's the same food every day. It's progressive training every day, right? The same sleep regimen every day, even on the weekends. It's just a lot of stuff that 99% of people aren't willing to sacrifice. And then the great ones don't necessarily have to do it as consistently, but I'm not talking to the great ones, right? We're talking about the average athlete. And
Mm.
I'm just sitting here and like, I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm like, if you had 4 years, right? And I told you all you had to do was go to bed at 9:30, wake up at 6 a.m. consistently, eat the same thing every day, right? And train progressively for the next 4 years, and you're gonna get a full ride college scholarship. The real question is would you like why wouldn't you say yes to that, right?
Yeah,
But
if you want
it
it.
comes at yeah, it comes at a cost. Like I can't physically push you or like give you a red pill, right?
Yeah.
To and say like if you take this pill, you're gonna be a collegiate athlete. No, I am gonna give you a plan, a guaranteed plan, right? That works 100%. But if you put in 100% effort, right? And
Okay.
yes, to answer your question, it's got to be pretty goddamn consistent. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Okay.
Like, you know,
So morning
uh,
routine matters. If you want to be the best,
100%.
you
I mean,
have
I'm
to
sorry.
have
Like, you
consistency.
want a different answer.
Okay.
You want like, okay, you can wake up at like 9 o'clock. Like, no, it's not happening.
Okay. All right. Well, given that, what do you think about goal setting? Like, is monthly goals
Daily
too
goals,
small?
daily goals,
So daily,
right?
weekly, what about
Like,
quarterly or
what I tell all my athletes is you gotta measure the day, and you gotta like you gotta stack up your wins throughout the day, right? You might be stuck at the same weight, right, on bench, the same number on the 100, right? But you got to look at the consistency of what you've been putting for. Like you need if you got if you took the dumbbell off the rack quicker, that's a win in some people's, you know what I mean? Like it's just like you got
yeah,
to look at the little wins to get to the big wins, right? Because once you get to that certain point, like where you go from average to great, right? Now you're an above average athlete. It's gonna be far harder to get to elite, right? And it's gonna take a lot longer to get to elite. And the gap is gonna be the window is gonna be a lot shorter because a 4.7 and a 4.4 looks I could put 100 people to look at a 4.7 and 4.4 and they're not gonna be able to guess or tell the difference. And the reason for
yeah.
that is it's literally that much. It's like that much, right?
It's the
But
blink of an eye.
that much is the difference between playing D3 in fucking Iowa and playing for Nick Saban, right? That's
Wow. Okay.
and people don't understand that, right? We're chasing that. We're not chasing that because I can bridge the gap to that, right? But you got to give me that little last bit, right? You got to give me
Yeah.
that last inch. And if you go the extra mile and do what others won't, you'll get that last inch, right? But along the way, it's going to be a lot fucking harder than it was to bridge that gap to the last inch, right? And the
Okay.
thing is people just are not willing. Like I'm sitting here right now, and I'll tell you right now, I could tell every kid, right? 10 kids, you know, I will train you for free for the next 4 years, and I will guarantee you a college scholarship. Out of those 10, they're all going to take me up on it, right? Only one of them's going to follow through. But
And pay the price.
that one
Okay.
person is going to go all
Yeah.
the way. That one person, right? It's a law. It's the law of numbers. It's the law of numbers.
Yeah, it's a Pareto distribution, I have another question about that in a minute. But first, how would you encourage student athletes who have hit a plateau? How long do those last? If someone is doing the right things, putting in the work, they've achieved above average performance, but they're not excellent yet, how long is it going to take them to get through that plateau? I'm sure that could vary, but what's your advice there?
I mean, there's gotta be a variable change, right? So like we need to
Okay.
either, it depends on like, as far as what the plateau is with speed, it could be, as simple as, tapering down, right? Like doing less volume, right? With the weight room, it could be as simple as,
Okay.
doing a different, tricep extension, a different exercise or a different plane of motion, right? A different stimulus to hit the same muscle, right? It just really, or if from a nutrition standpoint, it could be, adding in more carbs and decreasing, fat, right? It just really
Yeah.
depends. And honestly, if you really want to look at things, it's always going to depend. It's going to be a lot more gray than you think. There's not really a lot of black and whites in this world, and definitely not with the training world, right? It's going to be a
Okay.
lot of variability. But if you are in a plateau, you got to look at what you're doing, and then we need to it's going to be usually a takeaway, right? We're probably going to need to take away a heavier day, right? We're gonna probably have to, we got like there needs to be either a taper, it could be a switch. It just depends. Like maybe it's a technical issue, right? Maybe it's a technique. Like if we change the technique on
Okay.
the sprint, or
So it sounds like overtraining could be a serious cause for plateaus.
I
Is
can't.
that
Hello.
is it accurate to say that training is a
Hold on.
is
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
hear you. We got the technical difficulty. We
No,
got
my
the
bad. I turned on
we got the engineer in the house.
I turned on my phone and
Jesus,
it connected
man,
to your
amateur over here.
We'll get it straightened out.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
We got the super producer Antonio Adams. He's just like, he's
We
so
got it. We
excited.
got this. Yeah.
So
So it
excited.
sounds like the one major cause of plateaus is overtraining. And when I think back when I was in high school, I maxed at 225 on bench, but I was trying that 3 times a week, doing triceps and chest 3 times a week.
Yeah, you
It
gotta
is a
probably dial
major
back.
cause overtraining. Is
I
the
think with
plateaus?
the athletes in high school, they focus on the max outs a lot. And that's depending on the scenario, it's usually going to be less is what's going to change it for them. And
Okay.
honestly, especially with my sprinters, right? I look at what they do in high school, and getting an one of my sprinters to go from a 10.5 to a 10.3, it always typically boils down to reducing the volume to hit that number.
Okay.
And I think, I wouldn't say that like there's a lot of athletes out there that are even in that range of overtraining. I'm talking about like elite people do elite shit, right? And they're just gonna
Yeah.
like try and max it out all the time, right? But
Yeah.
so we're in terms of that, I would say that more times than not they're overdoing it. But I would say from the average athlete, I would say it's more so they're just not being consistent in their program. I don't think they have a program to begin with where
Okay.
they're following things progressively. I think what I watch is like 1 week they're doing this, the other like they're program hopping essentially. Or they're
Yeah.
just not doing the right program, period. And it's just a lot of well, in general, it's just gonna typically, from what I see in high school, it's gonna be a lot of chaotic stuff. It just doesn't make sense. You have things just thrown all over the place, like they're strength, whatever. Whoever's
Yeah.
writing things on the whiteboard is just like, hey, 3 sets of 10 everything, right? And an elite athlete is gonna like they're gonna absorb everything. Like you could throw shit at the wall and it's gonna turn into sauce, right? But for the average athlete, that's probably not gonna work. And there just needs to be a little bit more of thought, and there needs to be more of a plan and progressive, right?
Okay.
So
Okay. That makes sense. So given that, let's do shift to the Pareto principle. And for those that don't know, the Pareto principle states that 20% of the things you do will deliver 80% of your results. Or at an organization, 20% of people will produce 80% of the valuable labor. But with regards to just sports, what is that 20% of activities that will get 80% of results in general for athletics across the board?
I mean, to be quite honest, from my 15 years of experience, and it's not that I'm biased because I'm a strength coach. It's what I see, right? From the
Yeah.
actual the numbers. And I would say that 80% of these kids aren't training 20% enough of the time, right? However, how you want to break that down is like
Yeah.
they're overplaying the sport and under fucking training. And that is the problem. They want to get over specific and under, general performance where they can,
Okay.
do just general shit really well, right? Like they can, I would, you give me a kid that can run 4.7, that's like 22 miles per hour, right? You give me a kid that could, to me, that's average speed, right? But you can give me he can do that, right? And he
Yeah.
can, overcome his body. He should be able to with that type of speed, he should be able to have like, a competency of his
Yeah.
body weight. So he can do at least 20 chin-ups, right? And then he can produce enough power from a single leg standpoint to actually make better decisions in whatever sport he's playing. So like a 4.7, at a good body weight. So let's say he's, if he's 5'9", he should be at least 160, 170, right? So, he's got some mass to him, right? He's not 130 pounds at running a 4.7. He's, got decent mass. So, if he's playing a sport like football, he can at least make some impacts, right? Or if he's playing baseball, for instance, at 5'9", 170, right? He's going to be able to generate a lot of, torque and rotational, from a rotational standpoint. He should, because, the way, baseball is, you're going to produce a lot more force with the more mass you have, right? That's why they, a lot more emphasis in weightlifting now with the sport of baseball, but there's more to it than that. You have a sport like soccer, right? Where, you need to run 22 miles per hour. So like, that's like a standard to me, right?
Yeah.
So consistently hold that. And then, 160, 170 pounds, like they're not frail and getting thrown around because, soccer is a super aggressive sport still. It's not like football where you're getting like actually head-on collisions, but you're getting, you can beat out an opponent by bodying them, right? So like, if I got 4.7 speed and I can still like, I'm not gonna get pushed around, right? Or if I got a sport like basketball, right? Basketball, I gotta be super explosive. So a 4.7, and then let's say I got like a 33-inch vertical, like I should be able to at least get up there and maybe have opportunities to like if I got a 34-inch vertical, right? 33, 34-inch vertical, and I'm running a 4.7. Even at 5'9", I should be able to dunk, or at least you're playing you could play above the rim enough to where you're not going to get thrown around, and you could compete with guys that are like 6'8", 6'9", and they're just god awful as far as awkward. Like if you look at a 6'9" basketball player, a lot of these basketball players, right? They don't run fucking 4.7s. They're not super explosive. I got plenty of kids that are 6'5", 6'6", that can't jump more than 25 inches. Now, 21-inch vertical for a 6'6" kid, he's still gonna dunk, but he's not. I mean, like those guys get thrown around because there's 6'5" guys, 6'6", or there's guys like LeBron James at 6'9" who can run a 4.5 and jump 40 inches. So it's like, how are you going to compete with that, right? So there's a wide, there's like this big misconception in basketball that these guys can all jump, when I would say in reality most of them can't jump really well and they're not explosive. So if I got a guy if I got a guy that's 5'9", right, and he's running 22 miles per hour and he could jump 34 inches, he could still compete with a 6'4" to 6'6" guy, right? Because I'm assuming he's going to play the point position, right?
Yeah.
That's like I just named 4 sports, right?
Yeah.
Where like one thing can give them a lot of opportunities that have nothing to do with dribbling, hitting a baseball, like throwing, catching a football. Like these are just things that like these are
the 20%, the most valuable activity is explosiveness, speed, and their vertical. Those things.
And if they dedicated 20%, that time, right, and they dedicated that time, they're going to be ahead of the curve by 80%.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
like
the 20. Yeah.
So
that's the high impact activities.
It's like,
okay.
But see, everybody else, but everybody's going 80% on their sport, and I'm like, but you don't have the 20% metrics. You see what I'm saying? Like you're not in
Yeah.
the so it's like
Yeah.
why are you focusing on the stuff that if you don't have the other 20, you're not gonna play that sport at the next level. So what's the fucking point? You see what I'm saying? But
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
all these parents, they want to allocate, and this is why we're doing this topic of like the hacking the time. It's like I would not be interested in, you know, going and trying to build a skill for if I don't have like if I don't run a 4.7, you know, at the high school level, 22 miles per hour, I am not going to put my kid into a basketball camp, a skill development, you know, trainer, whatever, or you know, double down on basketball. I'm going to
Yeah.
send them to ProTrain, and I'm like, all right, let's fix this speed first and explosiveness so that they can actually play basketball at a high level now. Because it's
Yeah.
actually not that hard to teach the skill of the sport. What's far harder is to teach somebody how to rise rhythmically over time with the proper force into the ground, with the right running mechanics, control their single leg development, and have the competency and unconsciousness to actually change directions really well, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you need to focus on. What I would have any parent focus more on, because 80% of these kids don't run 4.7s. 80% of these kids don't allocate their time to sleeping well and their
Yeah.
nutrition, and they're only focusing 20% on the training when it should be in reverse, right? Now you reverse
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. Let's remind parents. Now, I've seen testimonials. Our kids are getting amazing results in 8 weeks, but how long, just so parents know realistically, should it take their young athletes if they're consistent, if they're going to bed early, their training routine, they're doing the right things? If they join us, how long does it take to get them to that very high level? A couple years, or how
I
long is
mean,
that?
look, I will put it, that's what we're putting together is that with this elite program. But if you give me a kid at 13 years old the opportunity to manage his sleep, his nutrition, his water intake, and his training, right, for the next 4 years. So by the time he's, if he's 13, that means he's in 7th grade. So that means by the
Yeah.
time he's a sophomore and he completes my program, right, where he's got 4 years under his belt with ProTrain, where he's focusing on linear speed, change of directions, power, and strength. For the next 4 years, we're monitoring his nutrition, we're monitoring sleep, we're monitoring and getting everything dialed in.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that kid is going to have at least 5 college opportunities.
Wow.
5 colleges reaching out to him.
Okay.
I mean,
So
like
that's just the brutal truth for parents watching, is that if
4
you want
years.
the best in the world, the top athletes, it takes time.
It takes time, but it's like 4 years. I know that it's the 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you give me the opportunity to work on getting him to the 20%, all right, and we got the baseline numbers. Let that coach go. Let that it's like, okay, now we have weapons, right? We have weapons that 80% of people don't have, right? It's
There
very
you go.
easy. It's very easy to get into that sport and become a dominant player and to become somebody that's worth talking about, right? It's not
I
like
love it.
it's not. So that's where I'm at with it, and that's what I'm promoting, and I can guarantee it. I mean, it's down to the science.
You've got the science, you've got the system. I love that. So, regarding mental preparation, I know that a big part of this is that they just naturally have to want it. But even for those people that naturally are in love with a sport and they're doing general fitness speed training and they're just mentally burnt out after some time, what do you recommend people do to get over burnout and to mentally prepare? Because I know so much of it is the mind and overcoming self-defeating thoughts and just self-limiting beliefs. The mental prep game, what does that require?
I mean, it should be fun at the end of the day. It's fucking
Okay.
sports. It's fun, you know? And I think the thing is like these kids have far too much pressure at a young age for something that doesn't
Yeah.
even fucking matter. Like the thing is like the pressure, like the pressure needs to be there, but at the right time, right? I don't give a
Okay.
fuck if these kids win an 11-year-old, all world whatever tournament. Who gives a fuck? He's 11, right? Let's go have
Yeah.
fun. Let's go get stronger. Like these kids need to have fun at the end of the day. And it's not fun if you suck, right? And there comes a certain point of
Yeah.
time where these
It's
kids
true.
they're not getting better, right? And they're doing what you call a plateau, except these parents keep doubling down on what's not working, and it's the sport. It's the sport. It's the sport. Stop fucking taking them to more batting practices and basketball,
Okay.
dribbling skills and stuff. It's like let them breathe. Let them react to a different stimulus, right?
That makes sense. So they could become, if you keep pushing a kid in the same sport, but their fitness is not up to par, they can become demoralized. I could see that. Like if your fitness sucks and they're like, okay, keep playing this sport, keep playing this sport. Well, I still suck at it because my fitness sucks.
Yeah,
Therefore,
it's like they
yeah,
take
I
them
could see
like
that.
they take them to
Yeah.
batting. Like I'll use baseball as a really good example, right? They'll take them to a batting coach that costs like $200 a session, right? And he's trying to get them to do things that they can't physically fucking do. And it's like, all right, well, you want that batting coach to really maximize the time with the kid, get the kid single leg and rotational better, right? So that they can actually listen to those
Yeah.
internal cues that they're giving the baseball coach is giving them, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna work.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That just getting that mental prep is enjoying it and pressure at the right time. I love that. So let's talk about recovery windows. Is there, and this may or may not be applicable depending on how hard the student's training, how much they're into it. Should people take a week off after every 12 weeks, or is
I
that a
mean,
myth?
so we have in draft prep, we have tapers, right? We have tapers in track. We have tapers, you know, for the to so that they can peak at championship or at the track meet or at the combine, right? And
Yeah.
that should be for every sport, not just for like an event like race, right? There should be I wouldn't say like a complete shutdown, but it's called a taper. So like you progressively lighten, right? and
Okay.
and with and with and it goes back to why we're here, right? The scheduling, right? So there's days where you go hard, right? You stack your days on, like your hard days on certain days, and you stack your easy days on certain days. And then when you have a championship or a game or something, you taper to like play that game at an optimal level, right?
Okay.
And that's what managing a schedule is supposed to be. Not like, hey, we're just gonna go X, Y, and Z hard as hell for no fucking reason, right? And then
Like
just
high
stop
schools
complete.
do.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
and then just
Okay.
stop and then just stop completely, right? Like what football is probably the worst sport as far as like time management for training, where like all high school sports, I don't know what IMG is doing, but but from like I've worked with Dematha and Good Counsel, and these are, but like where they basically like go hard as hell in the summertime. They beat the shit out of the kids, right? And then they go the hardest in August, right? And then they like once the season starts, they're like their training is like almost flatline. They train like not at all, right?
Hmm.
And then you look at the injury list, right? The biggest injuries are in August and November. Why is that, right? So it's like they're because they're getting thrown to the fire with like 3 days in August. So a bunch of injuries are gonna happen then. And then November, the season is winding down. They haven't been training, and their body is just getting micro injuries. And then boom, they get hit, right? Versus, all right, like, like August, we should progressively get those practices to where they need to be. They should be training, right? The conditioning needs to be, I don't know why that's in there, right? And then throughout the season, we need to have maintenance lifts and speed sessions, right? You do that, that team is going to be its best in November and December, right?
Yeah.
Versus being at where you're going to have to like bring in your 4th string players, right? So
That's interesting. So
Yeah.
here's a question. How do parents negotiate with the coaches if a parent has a young student athlete that wants to join us and become an elite athlete, but they've also got a hard ass coach that wants them to overtrain? What do parents do in that situation where they can join us and actually see results and manage those two things? What is that something that is common?
That's a great question, Potter. That's the best question, and I'm gonna give it to you straight. If they're in high school, there's no negotiation with these coaches. All right. So
Okay.
the goal is to prioritize it before fucking high school so that they have built up to that level of 4.7, 22 miles per hour. So
Okay.
you don't negotiate with a high school coach. You negotiate with these, these T-ball terrorists, if you will, right? These practice, these helicopter dad coaches that
Yeah.
never made it in sport. Like those are the people that you're like, dude, fuck you, bro. I'm gonna go train the right way, and we'll see you when we're at Columbus, and you guys are
At the
still,
top.
you guys are still coaching AE ball that nobody gives a fuck about. That's who you need to start negotiating with. Those are the people that you'd be like, dude, I'm gonna bring my kid twice a week. I'm sorry. Like he needs to get faster. He needs to get stronger. He can't even fucking do a chin up. Why am I going to bring him to your practice where all you're going to do is run him till he pukes? He's going to have a shitty recovery and he's not going to get better, right? We have a certain amount of window, right? So I would negotiate with those people. So you have a lot more leverage than you think. Like, yeah, like who cares if he misses a tournament? Who cares if he is not, like starting every fucking game? Because I guarantee you they're going to have to start him if he's faster than everybody. What the fuck?
Yeah. That's true. Okay.
Anthony, producer.
Oh shit! Hold on.
What are you doing over there, buddy?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we got the producer trying to like watch porn at the same time of recording this. Super producer over here. All right.
Did we leave? Are we
No, we're good. We're good. Get out of
good?
my.
Okay. So now let's talk about tracking and some of the technology without giving away trade secrets. Talk about how we are different, how we use technology to optimize the biomechanics. Because again, going back to your point, the human physiology operates best in sports when the biomechanics are there. And we pride ourselves on that here at ProTrain. Talk a little bit about our process again without giving away trade secrets.
I'm gonna give away the whole fucking thing. I mean, you're not gonna like
Okay.
you're gonna get so much value out of this. You're gonna be like, I gotta show up regardless.
Okay.
But, I mean, hold on one second. We got this guy over here. Yo, put your fucking headphones on, bro. I gotta, we're come on now. ProTrain needs us.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So
Okay.
so run that question back one more time, Potter. I want to answer that.
You got it. So how do we use tech? We pride ourselves on tracking the biomechanics to perfect fitness performance to get athletes the best in any sport without
Yes.
giving away trade
I'm gonna
secrets.
give them away anyway. You know, I like
Okay.
giving away. I like giving
Okay.
things
Yeah,
away.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna
Well,
give
let's
away
talk
the
about
whole.
the technology we use to track, and we really are on the cutting edge of making athletes the best they can be. Talk about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we use 1080 motion, right? And I've been, coaching speed and performance for 15 years, and it's crazy. Like I've been on the forefront, and I was in the first line of people with the 1080. I think I have the most tracked sessions in 1080 motion, and 1080 works with
Wow.
that company is a standard and a staple for speed. You can ask anybody out there, and we at ProTrain have the most tracked sessions. And
Wow.
what we do is we utilize 1080 for a few different things. One of it is to track the data of each run of our athletes, and what I'm able to do when I one, you're not going to get anybody faster without building force production and putting more force into an athlete and building that. Right now, you could do it. Before 1080, we were using sleds and everything like that, but that's just that's a way to get somebody faster. But see, the thing with a sled is you're not getting the right
Pulling or
amount of
pushing?
pulling pulling a
Okay,
sled.
pulling.
They're like,
Pulling. Okay.
heavy sled drags, heavy sled
Right.
runs, lighter. Like the thing is like it's unequated with the loading, right? The load changes and it's not constant. Like, so you're not getting that smooth resistance. We get a
Yeah.
constant, we at 15 kilos, we get a precise constant load, right? But what I can see the entire run and the performance of the athlete. I can see their meters per second. I can see their ground contact. I can see the total force output, where, yeah, it might be the same time, right? But the force increased on the first, second, or third step. There's a lot more context I get with that sprint. But also I can get the right precise loading with using a VDEC, right? And force velocity profiling. So I can get the perfect amount of resistance for that
Okay.
individual athlete based on the formula that we use, right? So I can get the perfect amount of resistance. So it's different for every athlete based on their weight and based on their level, right? It's not just
Okay.
always like, load it up as heavy as possible, right? So like I want to get especially, and that's another thing. Like, there's certain days where we're focused on different VDECs, right? Like, there's days where we're going on 75% VDEC. Your 75% VDEC is different than my 75% VDEC.
What's a
And
VDEC? The
so,
load
like,
athlete.
the right load for that run, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you want to get an athlete faster, you need precise loading, right?
Okay.
Now, you're not going to get that. It's going to be much, 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 much harder and tedious, and nobody's going to really fucking do it without a 1080. So you're lost if you don't have a 1080. So basically,
Okay.
like, that's why I'm saying I can give you all the secrets. You got to use a VDEC, but you don't fucking have a 1080. We got 2 of them. We're getting 4 more. It's like, you're not going to beat
Wow.
us. Like, you're just not going to beat us. You're not going to beat us because we're like, I got 100,000 sprints under my belt from 1080 alone. I got close to 1 million sprints under my belt in the last 15 years, analyzing sets from that's laser times, that's or
Yeah.
1080. You're not beating us when it comes to looking at like sprinting and precise loading, right? Because we've
So
been
we
doing this
have
for
the best technology, the best
right,
methodology for
right,
analyzing and improving an athlete's
right,
speed across
right.
any sports.
We're gonna
As a
put the right
reminder to everybody watching, the number below, if you text us, if you're in the Miami greater area, you can text or call us. Set up your athlete's free Olympic evaluation. We got you. We'll tell you exactly where your athlete's at and offer you the ability to join us and increase your athlete's performance. I'm curious, Johnny, what is the number one biomechanical issue that most starting athletes have? Is their sprint gait too long? Is it too short? Is their contact
You know,
bad?
if I had to narrow it down, it's going to be hip projection. It's going to be hip projection.
Okay.
It's gonna be the
Interesting.
hip
Okay.
Mhm.
So, given that these athletes, I'm going to combine two questions here. You know, they've got their athletic goals, they've got their academic, and some students have to work, and some students are playing multi sports. And I know you've kind of encouraged, don't specialize until you're older. Is the key to that, again, just having blocking time and being really consistent with your time? Or is there other stuff too that people can do that can manage academics, school, work? Like, should you do your homework before you go to practice, or should you do it after? Like, what do you think?
I mean, the thing is it can't just all be on the kid. You know, it's a teacher,
Yeah.
it's a coach, it's a parent, and we all work
Yeah.
together. Like, you want to
That's
get your
true.
kids to the next level, right? You gotta, you know, like it's a commitment from everybody. Like, I gotta be committed to give you the best performance possible. The teachers gotta be committed by understanding the schedule and really, like, the
Okay.
kid has to do the homework, right? But
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
kid also has to play the sport. The kid has to also practice and train and go to bed, right? So it's gonna be like, well, it's come student first, and that's the priority, right? As being a student and an academic. So it would make the most sense to do that first, right? So if you have, you know, you have to allocate the time, and me as a business owner, entrepreneur, I
Yeah.
live off Google. I live off Google Calendar. So why doesn't that kid live off Google Calendar? So, like,
Yeah.
you want to hack, I mean, all these kids have the same iPhone that I have. You need to really, like, allocate that time and go. Like, I'm talking about average athlete. You're not fucking Tyreek Hill, right? So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to do shit that nobody else is doing. Get your ass a Google Calendar, right? Put your fucking schedule in there. You have homeroom at 7 o'clock every fucking day. It ain't changing, buddy. So put it in there, right? Put in the time you need to spend in that, and the time throughout the day, because you could probably finish all your shit during school, right? And
Yeah.
then after school, the time needs to be spent and allocated towards the sports and the training practice, right? Your
Okay.
meals need to be in that Google Calendar as well, right? If I told you all you had to fucking do was put your goddamn schedule in a Google Calendar every day, and you get to go play for Nick Saban, and you get free fucking meals and all the swipes for the cafeteria, and you get people wearing your jersey, and you're on the field when they're fucking watching you, right? Instead of being in the field painting your face when it's 30 degrees
Yeah.
and being a spectator. If I told you didn't have to do that shit, and you can actually be on the field and people get to watch you play sports in college, right? And you get all the opportunities, but all you had to do was Google Calendar it, my boy. All you had to do
Okay.
was go to bed at 9:30, my boy. All you had to do was make sure your nutrition was on point, my boy. It's like, okay, it's not like a crazy secret here, but it's just
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. That's true. So I would imagine that would take, for some kids more than others, their parents' intervention and helping with that schedule, because that's a lot of executive functioning. It is easy.
Yeah,
It's
but the
not
parent,
complicated.
it's not easy, right? But it's not like, I'm talking about, like, you get to play for Alabama,
If
right?
you
You get to
really
go play
want
for,
it, yeah, you've got to
if you
do it.
want to go play at, like, I mean, like, I'm talking about, like, if you Google calendared it, and you
Yeah.
did the nutrition, and you did the sleep, and you trained the right way, I can guarantee you're not playing in Iowa. I can guarantee you're going to play at a school people have heard of. I can guarantee you're going to get some money for free. I
Okay.
can guarantee you that. But it comes with a sacrifice. It comes with a price tag. And the price tag
Everything
is you
costs.
don't get
Yeah.
to fucking party. You don't get to fucking play Fortnite. You don't get to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning. You don't even get to eat Five Guys every fucking day. you probably don't even get to hang out with girls like that. But for 4 fucking years, my boy, and then you know, you get the good old, you know, College Station or fucking Tuscaloosa, and everybody's wearing your name on the back of your jersey. Shit,
It all
man,
becomes worth it.
it all worth
Yeah.
it then when
Yeah, I want to
everybody's like,
mention a
damn.
comment real quick. We've got a comment from one of our viewers on Instagram. Unfortunately, I can't share Instagram comments yet using StreamYard, but Kalanita8 says this program did help my son not only on the field, but it boosted his confidence as well. I strongly recommend it. So we're raising not only athletes or helping them, training them, we're training leaders too. That's another
Catalina,
thing just
we
to remind
appreciate
people.
you. And then send your number at the bottom. So we're gonna give you something. I'm gonna hook you up with something. So send your number or like DM us, and I'm gonna get you guys a little gift. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, send us a message, Kalanita, so you don't have to put your info in chat. But if you DM us, we'll get back to you. We appreciate the shout out. We appreciate the shout out
Absolutely.
from
Thank you.
RMG Waves, who said he's the real deal. People, we love y'all. We appreciate your support.
Hey, we're gonna take care of you, and we got a lot more coming. And this
Yeah,
is
we're just starting our content creation. We're about to be on every week.
Yes.
Yeah.
So more to come, more advice. But you know, it really just starts with being diligent and focusing on the basics. Because in all seriousness, we just really teach the basics really well and perfect the basics, and that's what's going to be necessary to play at that elite level. That's what's going to be necessary to get you to that, you know, from average to elite. So you're not going to get a lot of fluff with us. You're definitely not going to get some long-winded, like complicated answer. It's going to be always mostly simple stuff. And we're going to help hold you accountable, and we're going to help prioritize and plan for you, right? Because it really comes down to just having a plan. I mean, I can't stress this enough. I think having a clear-cut plan from week 1 to week 12, from week 12 to 24, 52 weeks out, you know, map it out and like structuring it that way and reverse engineering it will pretty much get any one of these kids into college. And I can
love it.
guarantee.
I want to mention one more comment from RMG Waves. Changed my kid's speed and projection to D1. We love it. We love to hear it.
Let's go,
We're all about
baby.
helping
Let's
the
go.
kids.
Come on now. Come on. We
Let's
love it. We love
go.
it. I mean, I want to fill those comments up. I want to help. Like, the goal and the mission is to help millions and millions of kids. And at the end of the day, it's just giving the right education to everybody, and work. You know, we want the parents to be our allies and work together with the parents, because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. I think there's a lot of charlatans, and we are going to be the advocates for long-term development of all athletes, not just in Miami, but around the world. We're coming for everybody and anybody that wants to get better and get on the train. We're coming for every city, right? And we want to, because we know that our system works, and we're going to bring it to the masses, and we're going to continue and spread the good word that is ProTrain, that is speed, power, and strength, nutrition, guidance, motivation, mindset, and just getting you to reach your genetic potential. And all I can say is it's get on the train or get off the track. And if you on the train, you know, we're going all the way to the top. I can assure you that. Just stay on the train. Let's get it.
All the way to the top. I love it. Okay. So what is the role of, this might vary per athlete, but getting ready for game day or getting ready to break through a plateau, what's the role of mindfulness? And again, this is subjective. Some people I've heard about in business who they don't take any time for mindfulness. They just go, like Elon Musk. He says he just goes and goes and goes and goes. But I've heard other people in business say, you know, I take 30 minutes to meditate in my schedule or to read a book. I know that can vary from people to people, but what is there a general advice for that? Or what do you think about mindfulness and just getting the stress. Again, you did say that kids shouldn't be stressed out when they're young. They should be having fun.
They gotta
But
have fun. I think you know, the one thing I will say with the mindfulness, have your goals written to where you can fucking see them right in front of you.
okay.
You can, you know, like, and just like
Yeah.
when you wake up, you check in with yourself. All right, this is the goal for today. This is the
Okay.
goal. This is the goal. Don't look at tomorrow. Don't look at the month. Don't look at who you're playing in the state championship or who you like. Focus on fucking up today and getting the best out of today, right? When you look in the future, that's anxiety. When you look in the past, that's depression. All right. We're not looking at either. We're looking at it in the moment, right? And in the
Wow.
moment, you're a
Say that
fucking
again.
champion.
Slow that down and say it again. When you're
All
looking
right.
in the
When you're looking in the future, it's anxiety. When you're looking in the past, it's depression. When you're in the moment, you're in the
wow.
present, and you're performing at the highest level, right? And then you gotta you gotta wake up and you gotta check in with yourself. All right, big dog. All right, I do this today, right? I gotta accomplish X, Y, and Z today. I'm going to accomplish it today. I'm gonna win today, and I'm gonna win big, right? I'm gonna get a little bit better than I got yesterday, right? If I fucked up yesterday, that's okay. This is yesterday, right? Today, I'm winning and I'm going to win big. And you got to every day tell yourself that you're winning big, and you're a winner because you are a winner, right? Because when you got that list, that checklist in front of you, you're fucking winning. You're doing what 80% of people don't even fucking know about. And the other 20 aren't doing it as good as you, right? So
It
you could
feels
be
so
that one.
good to check off goals. That is very powerful.
Yo, listen, man. It's not look. This is not for the elites. This is not for the CEOs. You could be an 11-year-old kid with a Google Calendar that's focused on your nutrition and sleep, and you are going to be better than everybody else. And it starts with looking yourself in the mirror and saying, "I am him. I am him." I am him. I am great. I am a winner. I am winning. I am a champion because you are a champion, right? And the goal is to continue to be champion so that when one day people all around the world recognize you're a champion, if you stay with that mindset, you will be a champion for today, tomorrow, and for life, right? It's the day that you get up, right? You get up and you don't look at your goals. It's the day that you get up and you say, fuck it, I want to sleep in. It's when you get up and you just don't want to do it. And those are the days that you really got to do it. Those are the days where that 11-year-old star becomes somebody you never heard of. And it becomes when you check in and you're going to win, right? That's the day where somebody's going to give up on that goal and you kept going, right? Every day people are going to quit. And the day that you is the day you're gonna join everybody else. But we don't make that day ever happen. That day doesn't exist because no matter what, you're gonna check in with yourself. You're gonna check in and you're gonna be like, I gotta accomplish this today because my goal is to be a champion, and I am a champion.
I love that. There's so much science behind in order to become a person, you visualize yourself being that person and taking those actions. I don't believe that there's this social media trend of, well, you just got to manifest it and think about it. I
Nah,
believe that's
manifest what?
BS.
That's
You've got to
bullshit.
act. You've got to
No, you
create
gotta
goals and then act.
yeah. It's just
Yeah.
actionable steps
Yeah.
to execute a plan, and that plan will work. Whether it's gonna work to the way you think it will, but it's gonna work to an extent, right? Because you put, the law is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And if you do nothing,
Yeah.
you get nothing.
Newton.
If you do nothing, you get nothing. And if you do something, you're going to get something out of it, right? It might not be the result that you want, but it's a result, right? But if you don't do anything, you're not getting shit, right?
No, I
If you
agree
don't-
100%. Yeah. I just love that what you're talking about is creating the vision of who you are in your mind while simultaneously having an active plan to do that. That I do believe that creates champions in the best of ways. So who should be the accountability partners? Obviously, we just talked about you've got to check in with yourself, your heart every day. But second to that, probably is it the parent?
Well,
and
I'll tell you
then
what, big
us at
dog. I'll tell you what.
ProTrain,
You
or
take you text that number right there. I'm your account. Like you got me. You got my team,
okay?
right? The winning team, right? And then we're gonna work together and we're gonna execute that fucking plan. So you better take down that number right there, sir. Because if you do, right, you check in with us. We're not checking out till we get to the next level, right? And that next level isn't just high school. It isn't just college. It's for life, right? Because you could be a winner at 11 years old and never win again. I'm going to get you to win for the rest of your fucking life. You're going to win in college. You're going to win in the pros. You're going to win in your marriages. You're going to win and win. And you're going to be so addicted to winning that you're not going to know what losing looks like. And when you lose, you still win because you learn from those losses. That's what I'm going to teach you, young blood.
There it
That's what I'm
is.
going to teach you,
That's
sir.
beautiful.
So you better hop on that train. Text that number, right? I will be your partner, right? And I'm going to be your manager, right? Because you're the talent, right? And that's what it comes down to is these kids need managers. They don't need micromanagers. They don't need people that are telling them what to do and talking at them. I'm going to talk with you. I'm going to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're learning at the right speed and we are focus on the right goals, right? Some of these kids don't really want to fucking do this sport. Maybe they need to do something else. Maybe they need to dial back on that sport and they need to work on themselves, right? I think most of
Yeah,
these kids need to really work more on themselves and their performance and their physical and then go back to the sport. And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
yeah,
Because when you go back to it, you're going to dominate, right? But you're never going to dominate playing on one leg. You need to
that's
be playing on
true.
two.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of instances where the kid wants to play hockey, but the dad is like, "No, you're a basketball player," or the kid wants to play golf, and the dad or the mom is like, "No, you're a tennis player." Does that happen a lot, or is that not really
I
a
I
thing?
think I think I see more of like the kid probably likes hockey and they're playing hockey, but they're playing too much fucking hockey. Right? That's what
Okay.
I see more of that. Like I think
Again, they're
we're
not
in
getting that fundamental training, the
yeah,
fitness
they're like
training. Okay.
I like honestly to be quite honest, I see more times than not where the kid runs the show and there isn't a manager, right? There isn't somebody
Ah.
that's so like the like
Ah.
the pace is actually at the kid, right? And like I mean, these parents like are enabling these kids too much, and I think there needs to be a level of like respect and boundaries, right? Where like okay, like I'm the adult, right? So
Yeah.
you might like and I think it becomes hard for the parents where but I think that's where you got to have good management, right? You got to have good management and
Yeah.
you got to be a leader, right? And unfortunately like a lot of these kids don't respect their parents because the parents don't respect themselves, right? So like and I think that's another conversation, but um
Yeah.
you have to have the right people in place to where these kids can respect the people that they're listening to. Like every kid's gonna respect me because I really practice what I preach. I lift
Yeah.
at a high level. I look a certain way, and we execute right. But their PE coach, they're just like making fun of, right? Because that guy's like got a belly out to here, hasn't
Yeah.
done a chin up since the 70s, and is just yelling at the kids, right? That's not motivation. Like kids don't respect that, right? They respect people that are actually, respected, right? And
Authentic.
respect
Yeah.
authentic, right? And I'm not gonna tell a kid to do anything that I don't already do, right? And I think that's the problem, right? The parents tell them to do one thing and they're doing a completely other thing. So it's a balance. It definitely is. But I'm talking to the parents that are, respected by their kids. And the best way to get them to fully execute and be the best versions of themselves and reach their genetic potential is to have uh, a lot of people around them and a good support system, like a good coach, somebody that is allocated to helping them here, and then you got a good tutor, and then you got a good everybody has to have their role to really manage and lead an average kid to greatness, right?
Yeah.
um so going back, I think it comes down to everybody's got to be on the same page and needs to know their role and job assignment.
Okay.
Right?
Having like the teachers starting young where you're not under the tyranny of a high school coach. All that makes sense. Okay. Well, with that being said, we've covered our major topics. Are there any other major topics you'd like to discuss before we head offline,
Um,
or final words, whichever you'd like?
I'm always gonna take final words, big dog.
All right.
I think I'm gonna speak directly at that 13-year-old kid that is at a very transitional point in his life, and I'm looking at you and I'm like, if you just fucking look down, put your head in the sand, and get to it for the next 4 years, where you don't make excuses, you don't fucking do anything but train, eat, sleep, and just try and get better. You live on Google Calendar, you live in the weight room, you live on the turf, you're focused, you're writing down your goals daily. Give me those 4 years and watch what happens, man. Everybody's gonna be following you. Everybody's gonna want you. Everybody is gonna be like, who the fuck is that guy? And I'm talking to that guy because I see you on the other side and I know what you're capable of. And it just comes down to not making excuses, not blaming others, not looking at the past, not looking at the future, being in the present moment, the day to day, the actionable steps to get to that big national goal of being a champion. And I know for a fact you can do it. I've seen it time and time again. You're a fucking caterpillar. You're going to turn into a butterfly, but it just takes time. It takes growth. It takes change. It takes being uncomfortable, right? But just stick with it. Stick with it, man. Stick with it and just give it your all, and great things are going to happen to you, right? Go into the unknown, right? But really drive into that. Do what others won't do, right? It's okay to be different, because different is what's going to differentiate you from the rest. I can promise you and assure you that. And that's what you need, right?
I love it. All right. Before we sign off, RMG Waves has one more question. Heavyweights during season, yes or no?
No, I think you should do, maintenance lifts. I think you should be lifting more for just actually making sure that the muscle is maintaining. So I don't necessarily need to go heavy. You just need to
Okay.
have, you got to have that, a load that's gonna work for, enough to where it's gonna keep the stimulus. So it doesn't have to be heavy. I would be like, if I was doing an in-season program right now, I would be focused more on velocity than anything, focusing on speed of the bar, right? Moving that bar with speed and precision and good technique. And that alone is going to change the game versus going heavy. Because then what's going to happen is going to be a longer recovery, and they got to go play a game. And, you might have squatted 405, but who really cares if you're sore as hell and you're
Okay.
not playing your best. So, yeah.
Just maintenance, not too heavy. Okay. One more comment and I'll close this out.
Sure.
Kalanita says, it's all how bad they want to be better. And this program is it. Everyone in this program has the right attitude and the passion to motivate our athletes.
I love
Love
it. I
that
love it.
velocity. Thank you, brother.
Yes.
RMG
Yes.
Waves.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great.
Thank you.
So just to summarize, everyone, what we've discussed is the schedule of your student athlete will dictate where they will be in 4 years. If they do the right things every day, they'll be in the best position possible. And if they join us, give us a call or text us at 786-786-8461. And we have the science. We have the decade plus and a decade and a half of experience to get your athlete the optimal, absolute best shape for any sport. We're here for you. We're here to motivate you. We're here to take your student athlete to the top. And we'll be back with some more content soon.
Let's go, baby. Let's
Indeed.
go.
So great talking to you tonight. Yeah,
Yes,
great
sir.
talking to you
Potter.
tonight, Johnny. And we'll be back, audience. If you follow us, if you're watching this, or hit the subscribe button, because we've got a lot more coming for you.
Let's
We'll
go,
talk to
baby.
you
Get on the
soon.
train and get off the track. Let's go. Come on now.